Hi, welcome back to the shop. So we've got the tub re-cleared. Brought this in, scuffed it down, taped it up, and shot 4 coats of clear on it. Had the gas tank that had an area, when I wet sanded, went right through, so I fixed that. That's 4 clear. This one had the same type issue, fixed that, 4 clear. This guy here, when I was pulling the tape up, it actually pulled some of the base off, so I had to reshoot that one area. And then this one here, this running board, had a dent that somehow or other I missed. But it was dent from the other side. It's possible that might have happened when I was moving things around. So that had to get the whole 9 yards. I had to go with primer, base, and then clear on that. So next, pull all this stuff out. Take the paint booth out, pull the cars out. We'll start with the side curtain box. Then we'll do the interior, dash, of course. And then we'll do the top. Get the top irons fitted, get the top fitted to that, and then the side curtains go on once the top is there. So next thing I'm going to work on is what they call the side curtain box. So this is a little box. You can see it down in there. The side curtains go in this box. This is an original back piece here. It has hinges right there, right over there at the bottom. And you unlatch it from a top piece that goes under here, and it falls down, and then you pull these side curtains out. One of the issues with that is that the piece that goes in this way actually nails into the bottom of this wood piece here, so it's sort of in the way. That in other words, the side falls down, but the top doesn't. So trying to pull the side curtains out is kind of difficult. I've seen some various modifications where people cut a slot here and there and make this middle part on a hinge that can go up. But of course that means, modifying this piece. I am going to modify it anyway, but what I'm going to do is leave the whole thing as one piece, but actually put the hinge all on the back here. So the back of this board will be nailed in there as it was before. It will come out and it will be cut here and then hinged. So the entire thing, even over in these corners, back in this corner, will all lift up. So this will fall down, that will lift up. You get the side curtains in and out. Another change that people make also is this, that has a top rails, and by top they mean the hood rails, and that is the hood is your top. The straps for the top are attached into this, they call it a tacking strip that comes up here. That keeps you from being able to get into the back because you can't lift it up, the top up. So I think I'm going to snap all of that across the back. That way I can take the back up of the top and be able to get into the back easily. So that second one we'll see as we get to that. So up right now is to get these side supports made. I don't have those. I didn't have the top. I've got a piece cut for that. So to do that, get it split down the middle, put the hinges in, and test that out. And then to do these tacking strips. There's one here across, and of course one on the other side. So here's what I decided to do so far. The pieces that I'm replacing, it was a one-piece unit. It had a big hole here, an oblong hole here to put T-nuts, their version of the T-nuts, down in there. So they would go down into, this half of the one piece. And if you're looking at this, I rotate the camera, you can imagine that my table saw here is the inner fender well, or inner side of the fender. And then this board would represent that front of the side curtain that is going to fold down into the floor. And so you can see how this little inset here holds that in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make this 2 pieces. I'm going to take our version of the T-nut and so the threads will be wrong. But that's going to be a little bit hidden by the fact this is the correct slotted style screw that will come in from the fender, inside the fender well, up through here into this T-nut. And then the T-nuts will then be hidden behind this piece here. And one of the advantages of this is in the other one-piece unit with the big oblong holes here, they had to have a U-channel, a sheet metal that goes over that to hide it. And then this entire thing is wrapped with vinyl. So this will be two pieces. We'll put this together, put the T-nuts in place, and then screw in from the back side twice with brass wood screws, have this glued together, and that'll be a nice one-piece unit. So that's how I'm going to put this together. I made these a little bit long. I'll go ahead and get these mounted, well, put together, and then mounted in the back. And they will need a little bit of an angle on the top and the bottom, because these do not sit actually vertical in that back there. They're sloped a little bit forward to match the slope that goes down into the lower side curtain box. Okay, you can see the two T-nuts poking through there. And then you've got these three little black brass screws. It's glued together, and those are a little bit more than just a clamp. Kind of hold that in there. So this turns around. You can see back here the two holes. That goes down, and then we'll screw it in from the other side, and then we'll set this backboard up between the two. Alright, so we got that in. This is the front. It has the hinges down here that hold it to this, and then it tilts forward. I have the top part that goes in. The top part goes underneath. You can see this is a wood piece here. It goes underneath that and comes out flat, and you should be able to see that we have a little bit of a gap, so it goes on top of this piece. And what I'm going to do is I will cut this off flush, so now that I know this angle, rip this piece in and fit it, and then go and rip it right down the line there and install a hinge. And then that way the back of our top panel will be screwed in to this like it was originally. The front of the top panel will sit on top of this like it did originally. The straps will be here exactly like original, but this time when you open the straps, this part will fold down like it did before, but you'll also, since it will be cut here, you'll also, and have hinges, you'll also be able to lift that up. And then that way you should be able to slide the side curtains out much easier. So I've got the table saw out, and go ahead and get these cut now that I know the angle correct, and get that piece ripped. I got to get it notched to go in there and get it set in place. And then once I have the size fit, then we'll go and rip it again down the middle, or not down the middle, but right along this edge, and go ahead and put the hinges in it. This is basically what we're looking for right here. The pieces of green tape are about where the straps are, and I think this is pretty close. I've got it tacked up into this bottom like it would have been originally. If I take these off, and I had to give it a bit of a tug because it's a little tight, but that comes down. See how that works. Now this top piece right here, let's see, I've marked a line here. That's where I'm going to put the cut in and then put the hinges in. So this whole piece will go up, and then I'll let you get the curtains out better. That will also fix the fact that this doesn't quite fit on the clothes. And then it holds itself together because when you go and click the strap on, it pulls this down tight. And oh, and another thing, underneath this, it has a strip that goes down that way with the grain going in the opposite direction of this, so to give it both a stiffener and then something for this to shut against. So that's basically what it's like. I'm going to go ahead and get that strip in there, and well, actually cut it first. We're going to get in the hinges in, put the strip on, And then once I have all that fit, then I'll take it all out and shoot it with epoxy primer, like all the other wood, and then that should do it. So this has been a pretty big struggle, but I think I've got something now that works. So I've got a piano hinge, runs down to 30 inches in the middle. I only have a couple screws in right now. I've tried putting the hinge in the bottom to hide it. That wouldn't work because it didn't have enough freedom to rotate up, where this can come all the way up. Before it maybe had about that much room, which is good, but probably not quite enough. This was going to be 2 pieces. This was originally, I think this is 3/8, and then it had a stiffener that went on the bottom. Instead, I decided to go ahead and make this out of 1 piece. Just put a dado blade or in my table saw and cut that out, so it's 1 piece. The 1 piece gave me enough room to run a reasonable sized wood screw in here. The idea with these wood screws is, I think I did it on this one. So I get the hole in, I run the screw in, I take it back out, and then I have taken one of my punches and rounded it so that I can countersink not the wood, but really the bend to hinge a little bit, and then that gets the head of this screw down level with that. And then I've got a piece of cardboard. It's actually the Home Depot calls it ram board. It's what you would put down over the floors to protect them, like moving furniture in and out. And so that's going to go across the whole thing, and then that will keep the vinyl won't show that hinge in there. All right, and so you lift this up, and then this closes in here. So that's the idea. You can see the strap marks where the strap goes right here, and then there's a snap on top. So you got a little buckle that comes up here, and when it comes up on this side, so you unsnap it, this falls down, you can rotate that up to get side curtains out. So I clean this up, round over this edge a little bit, and do a couple things to make it easier to wrap in the vinyl, and get all the screws in, and then get all of those holes countersunk so that the screws will be flat, so they won't show. And then take everything out and epoxy coat it, and then that'll be it. So that was a lot of work. Kind of wish I didn't have that great idea now, but it's done now, so it looks good. Hopefully once everything is buttoned down and all the rest of the interior is in there, it fits well. It's hard to know if that's going to be in the right spot, but I think it is. So I just finished cutting the top rails, or hood rails. These are basically tacking strips. So the back of the hood, or top, is screwed into this piece in the back. Now, I'm probably going to put snaps so that I can unsnap the back of the top and take it off if I want. This was fairly easy to do. If I did another one of these, and I never will, I probably would have come in and paid a lot more attention to getting this area flat so that this sits well. As it is, I was able to put some shims in there, and it's fine. This section on the back, I probably would have done a little bit differently too, so that it sit better. This is pretty easy. This is just a standard 1.5, 3/4 piece of oak strip. What I did was I put the back piece on and the side pieces on, and then marked underneath it. And then I took this over to the table saw and cut an 18-degree angle in this, because if you look at the back here, you've got an angle that it comes up, so it needed to come in like that. So before I did that, fortunately, I remembered to cut this with the jigsaw at an 18-degree angle on both sides. Then screwed this onto a carrier board, and then ran that through the table saw. I cut these, at 15 degrees and sort of changed the taper on the jigsaw as I went through. Then once I got these on to get the curve matched up, the bottom of course was matched because that's where I traced it. So all I had to do was mark the top and then just put it on a big belt sander and got that set up. Okay, so the other pieces for the side cabinet top are down here. So we're going to take everything out and shoot that with primer, get everything cleaned back up, clean the shop back up, get ready, and then we should be able to start putting the interior back there. So that's pretty awesome. So these pieces are shot with primer. I put the hinge back in, so these will be ready to go in the car. In the car, it's taking a small step forward. I got the windshield in. If I had done a video of me putting together that windshield, it would be 7 hours of putting it together, taking it apart, putting it together, taking it apart. It is, wow, I struggled on that one. Even right down to the end, I got this thing mounted on here and it wouldn't fall forward. And the reason it wouldn't fall forward is these little posts here, I had them reversed. If you look at the bottom, you can see right there, it's rounded over so that it can rotate past this little point right here. So I missed that. And you know, it's funny, if you put these on the way they look like they should fit, you would never put it on with that gap sticking out right there. You can see from the side, but that's the right way of doing it. I got, this is new glass, and I got or bought a little vinyl etching kit. So an enthusiast has made these. It's got the right date code on it. So it's a piece of vinyl. You put it on the back side here, and peel off the transfer tape, and then put the etching cream on there. And it takes about 30 minutes. I think it turned out really good. Very happy with that. You can see I've got some insulation or sound deadening material rather. Put that in here. I am debating on putting it on these wood panels. I don't know. I mean, I would think the wood would do deadening on its own, but maybe not. I've got this one vinyl piece I'm just sort of fitting on there. That looks like it's maybe the toughest part of the whole thing to get that stretched right. It looks like it's awfully big for that fender well there. You can see the wire for the windshield, the wiper motor. It comes out up here, and then there's the wiper motor down here. I rebuilt that. It works pretty good. It didn't really work when I first tried it, and I've got one of those power supplies that'll show you the amp draw. You can do constant voltage or constant amps, and I could see that the amps were way up. I opened it up, and it's just because all the grease in there had turned hard as a rock. So I was able to clean that out. Redid some of the new bushings in it, redid 2 of the connectors in here, put some heat shrink on the 2 wires that go in on the bottom there, and then these are just temporary for testing, and then that mounts back up here, and then you have one wiper here, one wiper down on that hole, and then a link between the 2. All right, so next will be felt. I do the felt in the back there, so it'd be easier to get to. I'll do 1/2 of it. Yeah, I might do both halves. I'm not sure yet. And then we've got some felt for the toolbox. Need to cut a piece of wood. It goes here. That's a divider for the felt in the toolbox. And then we need a wooden bottom for the battery box. So I got the doors on. This door went on pretty easy. I got the bolts in, Loctite on those. Those are done. I got this guy in. It was actually more difficult than you would think to get in. You get these neat little oval screws, slotted screws. Finding slotted screws these days is hard. That would have been what was original. Actually, the original one was apparently did not say the MG car company on it. It was just a piece of brushed aluminum. On this side, you got a square here, a rectangle, and you need a triangle to keep the support. So they put these bars in here. I cut this one and welded a turnbuckle in. I've seen some people have used turnbuckles with the cables in there. I just felt like this was a little sturdier, maybe a little bit more effort, but I think it works well. So this plate is in place. I got to put some silicone sealant under it, run all the screws in, and then that'll finish that off. Those bolts all need Loctite on them, so I'll need to do that, and then this door will be done. And then I think from there we're going to move to the back and start getting the wheel arch covers on. I think once the wheel arch covers go on, then I'll be able to start really with the interior proper and get the back part on, and then start actually do the doors and start in the front and come all the way back on that. So, and we're getting a little bit closer. We've got the wheel arches covered, and then I've got these panels in here just loose fit to make sure that I got a nice snug fit all the way around, and that looks good. Now, I don't think that these can go in until we do the top. I think they call them tack strips, tack rail. One across there, one here, and I think that folds over and goes under here, and then that goes on top of it. So I think the next step is to get that back done, and I'll go ahead and do the whole side curtain compartment at the same time, which is going to entail covering the inside of that with felt. So that should be fun because there's so much room down there. That's sarcasm. And then across the back as well. So I think I saw someone else did it half and half, and I think that makes sense because I'm not really sure where to stop the covering, and I think you take the vinyl, it comes over here, the lid we have goes into that, and then the part underneath that is what has the felt. So I'll probably go ahead and cut just the inside part and do that. So here's the top piece. I think this might make a little bit more sense. So I've got the contact cement on these. You go ahead and pull this up and put those down. The idea is that this part here, which is going to go down in the tub, is the one that's flat, and then this has a curve on it, and you take up the excess in this area. And then when we get to the front here, I'm going to pull one piece over into right there, and then that will finish that part. And then again, we got to put this in the car, but not now, because you can't do it when you got to still get to the top. So you fold this that way, and then that will give you the finished edge there. All I did was pull these up and kind of work it this way a little bit as it goes around the corner. Pull that way in that direction around this corner, and it gets it nice and tight along here. And then at the end, when I go to put this on the car, I can fold this under. See how you get to X perpendicular right there, and fold that under. I'll trim that piece there, obviously, and then that will give the edge right there. And I'll shoot it when I put this on there. So that's that one. That will go on, and then this is the side piece. I got to do one more of those, and then we'll be able to put the rails on the back. So looking forward to that. Still making good progress. You know, we've got all our little pieces covered. We got top covered. It's got that top rail covered. Wheel arches are in good shape, and now we have the door panels on, and the doors shut, close, and stay closed. The MG TD had sort of a two-stage locking or catch. It comes in and catches on that first one, and then it goes a little bit further, and then that goes down in the hole. And you can see on the other hand here what I'm talking about. See this little guy right here, he doesn't just catch on that first part, it goes in further, and then that goes down into the hole. So you can put little plates behind this to move that out. I needed 2 plates on that side and 1 plate on this side to get that just right. And you know, one thing where this sits is a little bit, I don't want to say arbitrary. It has some holes that keep it in place, but those move around. What I did on this one was I closed it all and then went and got this latch, put it in there, and then seated this in the spot where it held that in. So I guess I did it backwards rather than trying to get this to where it would close and catch in there each time. I got it all the way in there with the door shut and then screwed this in place to match. Okay, I hope that made sense. It worked well for me. I'm now waiting on the piping. The front panels are really what's holding everything up. The front panels wrap around that. I think they call it the roll bar. You see the bar that goes around on the inside. They wrap around and are screwed into the front wood piece there. It's much easier to do without the dash in, without all this wiring into the instruments. So I need to get those in place, and to get those in place, I need the piping. So once I get the piping, I can get the front panels in, rear panels, and get the dash in, and then I think we're getting close. I went ahead and put the transmission tunnel cover in, and then it's got the little rubber cover. Because there's some debate as to whether this guy goes inside or over it. And if you put it on the inside, you can convince yourself that's where it should be, because it does fit. It's got this nice molding. It seems to be perfectly fit. But then it's hard to get this to go down far enough. So I took this back out, took that off, then put this on and first, and this on the outside, and then you can see how this part, it's obvious that this should go on the outside, because this is this thick piece that seals between these two. So that was sort of the giveaway that it really should be on the outside. I think I've read a couple forum posts where all members were convinced one way or the other. So I tried it both ways, and it does seem, at least on my car, to fit better on the outside. Things are going pretty good. Got the back on, the top rails on, the side curtain box is complete. The upholstery on both sides is in. Got the piping for the dash, test fitted the dash, it works well. Got the glove box in. The next thing to do is this area that goes underneath the dash. You can see right down here at the back, that right there is the back of the battery box, and there's a little lip there. So you got a panel that sits on that lip, comes out here to the back of the dash. This is the part that goes sort of the underlayment or back part of the dash. Dash goes on this, and it goes from this side to that side, and of course has a taper down into the footwell. So the big issue with this is, while there are some dimensional drawings out there, they're all a little bit different. So I'm going to go through and get it fitted just for mine. Of course, this car did not have that when I got it. So we'll be building that from scratch. So there's a couple ways of doing that. I'm going to show you the way I do it. The way I like to do this is to do it in pieces. So we know this front piece under the battery box, that's 14 inches wide. And then from there back to here is about 22 3/8. So that's a rectangle. So that's easy. You can go cut a rectangle piece out, and we can go and put it in place. And get it there, and then we can push it up, find out where that hole is, cut that hole out, and now we've got this in place. Now, we can tape that in place, and then come over and measure the distance that we have from here to here, from here down to the crossbar roll bar, and then over to here. So we've got this distance and that distance. And we've got a curve in this area, but we're not going to worry about that yet. I'm just going to make this easy by picking a straight line that'll go across there. So we get that piece, or that width, and the length. And we'll cut that piece. So once we got the center section in place, it sort of divided the problem. Now I'm going to divide the problem again. We've got this bar here that makes it difficult to figure out how this piece should fit. This bar comes out. This is not planar with that in the front. So we're just going to do this one section here. I can measure from this center section over to the side and then go back to where this crossbar is and measure that distance there, and then of course the distance back to the front. And then that is an easier piece to cut. Now, it's not going to have the curve on it, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So we take this in here, put it up against the edge, and then we're just going to tape it in place along the front. And then once we get it about where we like it, we'll make it a little bit more permanent. Okay. And put one up at the front. And kind of hold that in place. Now, you take little scraps of cardboard and a little hot melt glue. Put that on there. And then come in here and get these pieces a little bit more secure. And so sort of repeat that process back, and then that will keep this more secure. Now I'm going to go and measure for the front, and then cut a piece out for that, and then we'll do the one up front. So now it's easier. I'm on this other side, and I can measure the distance from here over toward this outside, then from here all the way back up toward the firewall, and then this part over to here. And then that gives me a piece looks like this. And then this is easy. I had to cut a section out for here. It's easy to put up there and get into place. And so then I simply do the same thing, tape it temporarily, then glue it in place with the hot melt glue, and then that'll get this section. You can see what we ended up with. We've done this basically in 3 pieces. And we've got this side all the way up, and we've got the middle side. So this area here, there's a big curve in this, and that doesn't fit. So what we're going to do is we're going to scribe that. We're going to take a piece of cardboard, tack it on here temporarily, then scribe it, then take it off, cut it, and then put that piece in. And that'll complete this side. So here's how we're going to scribe this. Got this temporary piece, and we taped up here. It touches at each end of the area that we want to scribe. So then we're going to take a compass. I'm going to go up here to the widest part that is apart and set that to match at least that gap. Okay. And then you start down here and you simply follow it along all the way up until you get to the top. And then what happens is when you can take that off, you have, it's probably hard to see my line here, but you have that scribe of that curve. And this is just a temporary piece. Let me pull that down now. So you can go and cut that out, and then you'll get, you take that piece out, you cut it, and then you can set it right in place, and you see how it follows the curve. And so we'll go ahead and attach this the way we've done the others on this side. So we cut that piece out that we scribed, made it just ever so slightly narrower, so we had a little bit of wiggle room when we put it up there. That way we can put it flush against this side and then make up a little bit of a gap with our little cardboard patches, the hot melt glue on that. So we're going to do a little bit more there to get that a little bit tighter, and then we'll be done with this side. Now, one of the fun things is that the other side is basically identical. So we'll be able to take these measurements and cut one piece out and then work that on the other side. So that saves a good bit of time. So I took the measurements from the other side, and I've got one piece that I was able to cut this time. This one's a little bit different. I have to cut a little gap out here for the what they call the dipper. There's a headlight, high beams, low beams. Since I had a little bit closer fit on that crossbar, I was able to get this. And then this has a hole in it because of the way it goes in the steering assembly. So you pull that down, slide it back in there, and then you can see the steering column actually goes right up in there. So and do the same thing here. I tape this temporarily in place, hot melt glue it in with our patches, and then we'll come to this side and we can scribe it and get that done as well. So now we took this piece out. This is a piece that we glued up, sort of our aggregate. And then we've laid it down on another piece of cardboard, and we're going to go ahead and cut this out of this cardboard. Then we're not using the cardboard. We're going to do one more pass to make sure we got everything right. A couple examples. Once this is one piece, these don't come out very well because you can't pull it out with that bar right here. So we're going to need to cut some relief in there and a relief in here to get that out. And then this hole needs to be moved a little bit forward. So we'll go ahead and make those changes on this, check that it's just right, and then if we need be, we can tweak the next copy, and then we'll use that on our waterproof board. It's also called door panel, cowl board. That will be what we'll use for the final panel. Got it all cut out, fit it twice, works pretty good. So one thing that I remembered, fortunately, as I was doing it, that this is going to need to be a little bit smaller because the vinyl covers this and it wraps around. So I'll have, one thickness of vinyl on each side. So I need to make sure that I take that into account. So I will trim this just a little bit, put it back in there. I've got some vinyl I can wrap around this, tape in place, and make sure that it fits right. Once that's done, then we'll trace this onto the door panel board and cut it out. We've now got this cut out of the actual waterproof panel board. So I'm going to go and outline this and get this cut out, and then go back and fit this one last time because I got to get the location where the two brackets here and the bracket here go in, and then go ahead and get the wood on it, because all of this has to be screwed in. The wood pieces I have cut, but they have to be put on, brackets have to be put in, everything has to be screwed together before the vinyl goes on, because the vinyl goes on over all those. So we got our brackets in place, got the wood pieces in place. On this side I couldn't get a piece of wood in because of the way the turn signal indicator, switch multiplexer or whatever sits. Essentially there are multiple versions of the wiring harness, but I got the one I actually ordered has that mounted outside on the firewall next into the engine bay, so to speak. I wanted mine mounted on the inside, so I had to change exactly where I put it. It's not a big deal. I doubled up the waterproof cardboard on this side to give it some more rigidity. And then this part is smack up against the steering column anyway, so it fits fine. I'll show you the other side. And a nice black vinyl on this. All right, so that wraps up this, and that'll wrap up this part. So the next part, we're going to finish up the interior, dash installed, top, side curtains. And then after that, next part, I think we're going to go ahead and get all the rest of the fenders, the hood, everything on, and hopefully wrap this thing up. So thanks again for watching.